Hi, Hemant.
Hi, Shanti.
So what is your demo today?
So today, I'll be taking up a real-time scenario where um, a developer or a couple of developers are in the need to import data into Blob, create a VM for them, and set up a database like MySQL, and import that Blob into this MySQL DB, and then create one image out of the virtual machine on a Linux server, and use that image to basically distribute among developers for resource sharing.
So it means in one sentence, if I say, if I understand it, developers need the MySQL server VM built in Azure
Yes,
image as image to use
as
in the
image.
setup every feature requirement for feature requirements.
Correct.
Right. Please go ahead.
Okay. Okay. Here, basically, we are looking at a scenario where, say, a developer from Tom has a CSV file on his on-premise network, and he will be uploading into the MySQL database with the help of the Azure portal after creating the virtual machine. And later we'll create the image out of the virtual machine and share among the other developer members. So as a prerequisite, what we need is test data. I have come up with a CSV file that already have it stored locally, which has all the data related to employee table. Then we need access to the Azure portal for completing this task. And as part of this demo, we will also follow the best practices, the security norms that are required as part of this whole process of executing this, creating VMs and assigning users. So this is the basic architecture for this entire flow. If you see, we have an user basically granting some roles and responsibilities with the help of intranet, Azure intranet. And once the user is granted or created, we'll assign some roles. So as part of this demo, we will see how we can assign, set him up as a owner, and also to basically read the data from Excel file, we will assign a role as a blob reader. So once he has those permissions and authorization to read the Excel file, then we'll go ahead and create the virtual machine with the help of, this is on, we'll pick Ubuntu Linux server as part of this demo. And we will install first the CLI, which is required, command interface of Azure. And then we install the database, which is MySQL here. Once that is done, we will download this blob file from the storage container onto the database. And from there, we will import that data into one of the tables. And once that is done, we validate the data in the employee table. Then we will go ahead and create an image with the help of Azure Compute Gallery. And we will use this image to basically replicate the existing setup. And on the second image that we create, we will validate to make sure that the replication is in place, and we are able to access the employee table which we earlier created. So images have this benefit of saving time. So imagine we have same scenario tomorrow. Another developer is coming and saying, "Hey, I need so and so setup just like John, and please help me." So ideally, if without an image, it will be a repetitive task. So with the help of this Azure compute gallery, we are actually saving time on setting up the resources, assigning roles and responsibilities, so that there's minimal wait time for the developers to have their environment. Okay, now we'll basically go ahead. We'll just walk through the agenda by steps. So first, we'll create and grant users. Both will be assigned to owner as an owner and also as a data blob reader. Then we'll create a storage account. As part of the storage account, we will also create one container. So container can hold different types of data, blob, a file, or a queue, table. So for this demo, we are going ahead and creating a blob. And we will also import that mock data, which is already there in one of the CSV file into this container. Then we'll create an Linux virtual machine. In this case, it will be a Ubuntu. And on that Linux virtual machine, we'll try to SSL into the virtual machine and start install the Azure CLI on the virtual machine. Once that is done, we'll download the blob onto this virtual machine and then import into the SQL Server. Once the SQL Server installation is complete, we'll create a database. We will give it a name, then we'll create one table as employee, and we'll also import that data into the MySQL table and validate the same. After that, we'll basically create an gallery or create an image out of this virtual machine. So to do that, we have to follow some steps to stop the VM and generate this disk definition. And later we grant those access to another users to basically see if this data that was already created in first VM has been replicated. Okay. So as part of this demo, I have used Gemini as one of the AI prompt tools to generate these steps that would help me achieve the goal of performing task. So let me walk you through some of those three prompts that I have used. So here I'm basically saying, please provide detailed steps to install MySQL DB on Linux virtual machine using CLI without any infrastructure as code. You can see the prompt generated a script for us saying these are the prerequisites where you need a VM with a root enabled and proper internet connection to extract and download the packages. So these steps involve updating the existing packages on the VM, then installing, setting up an environment for SQL, then install MySQL packages. It will automatically install the dependency libraries, any other dependency files, Debian files. They all will be installed as part of this. So once this installation is done, we will use a system control command to basically start the DB. And we can use a status command to basically verify if the database is up and running with this command. So once this is set up, they have another prompt we are looking at where we will be installing the cloud command line interface for Azure on the VM as well. So this command is basically to import or download that blob file onto the virtual machine with the help of command line, Azure command line interface. So before this, we also need the steps to install the CLI, which is this one. So I gave a prompt saying provide command to install Azure CLI from Ubuntu on Bash. So As part of this prompt, we have these steps where we are basically updating with the help of an package tool, verifying that any pending updates are required. Then basically we will install the Azure CLI, and once the installation is done, we will verify what the version is. So as part of this prompt, we also have this reference um, from Microsoft, so which we will be following, which was referred in one of the prompts, basically telling these are the requirements for you to follow the CLI. You should have at least one of these versions of Ubuntu, either Jellyfish, Focal, Fosca, or Noble, and any of these Debian versions. So once you verify, we'll be using, hopefully we should be able to find Ubuntu version 22, which is which has a long-term support. Any of the long-term support should work with this. Um, so here we have two options. Either we'll just run the script that would in the background pull all the required execution that will be done, or we can follow the same steps elaborately to see what all actions are taking place with the help of this packages and installing the signing key, and also generating an repository for that. So now we'll just go back again to the PPT and continue our walkthrough. Okay. So, first we will start with creating a resource group for this, where we will assign the storage account, the VMs, and everything will be part of this resource group. So I have given a name, storage user -rg. RG basically is like the suffix that we'll use to uniquely identify this resource group. Once that is done, we'll go and create a user and assign some roles and responsibilities, um, roles and grants to this user through Microsoft Entra ID. So here I created a user, Sam. I gave a password for him to connect, and also I'll be permissioning him to different group or principals here. In this case, I picked Harry and Sam. You can see on the right, their names are selected. So I'm currently basically providing them blob data reader permission to these users so that they can access the employee data in the CSV file. So this is a page where you can basically verify who all have the permissions. So as part of this demo, um, I will be creating users and assigning roles, but when it's time for execution, I will use my own credentials, which is Hemant Dev22, to perform this task, because the user sign up is little elaborate process now. It also asks for the credit card details and all those personal details, which I don't want to walk through during the demo. So for our demo purpose, so I'll be using my own personal profile to execute those commands. But when it comes to validating data, we will see how the image has all the required data. Okay, now we are creating a storage account. Here I've given a name, employee DCSV. Region remains the same, US is US. The primary purpose is basically to store the small amount of data. So here you have an option to see what kind of data you want to store. Is it in few KBs, or you're talking about in terabytes? So you have a different range of these services. Okay, we'll go ahead. So redundancy, you can choose, do you want to replicate your data? If there's a failure, you want to keep it locally or you want to keep it in a different region or zone. So those are the options that you can select under redundancy. So once you create your storage account, it's time to create a container. So each storage account can have multiple containers and it can have a mix of table, queues, um, blobs based on requirement. You go ahead and create these resources. So in this example, I gave a name as employee container. And you can see now I imported this test data, which is named as a file mock data. You can see it has three fields: employee number, name, and city. And the first row is the header. And I have imported 100 records for this test. And you can see they are separated by a comma. So once the container is created, now we'll go ahead. We'll create a virtual machine where we will be installing the SQL DB. So here I picked the same resource group that I created first, and then I gave a name as Ubuntu image -VM, which means virtual machine. Region remains the same. Availability, you can set from highly available to no infrastructure, which means it doesn't have to be up and running all the time. Unlike in production, you don't want to choose something with low availability. You want high availability depending on how many transactional data you have, how long, how crucial it is for you to have during just the working hours or even after working hours. So it all depends on the requirement. So you can scale up here as you need it. So you can see the OS I'm picking here is Ubuntu Server LTS 22 version, which is available. So once the deployment is complete, you can see what all dependency resources are created along with IP address, network interface, network security group, VNet, and the deployment is complete. So that means it is available to connect. So now we'll go ahead and we'll try to connect to this virtual machine through the command line interface. Okay. Now, before we starting anything, we want to first install our Azure command line on the VM. So we are following the same steps that we have seen in the AI prompts with the help of sudo apt update. Then we'll run extract some dependencies and update any existing packages if required. Once the installation is done, we can also verify the version. So in this case, it's the Azure version CLI was 2.64 in this case. Okay. After CLI install now, we also want to download the blob file onto our virtual machine. So we have a command here with Azure storage blob followed by the name of subscription ID, account ID, and storage ID. We should be able to download that data into our virtual machine. And you can see if it installed properly, you will see this response with JSON data showing 100%. That means all the data has been downloaded. Once this is done, we can go ahead and install our MySQL server. So unlike earlier demo where we have done the same, but on Windows Server, it was more UI based. So we need to do some setups there, but here this is all through command prompt. So we'll use the commands that we earlier looked in during the AI prompt walkthrough. Okay. Here, once the DB is installed, we'll create a database and which we name it as MySQL 2024. I know the screen is little short, but you should be able to see that we created the DB, we created the table. You can see now here we are verifying. There's some restriction on the DB, that is we can't place our data wherever, whatever path we choose, but there's a config file having this specific variable which is secure file privilege, and it's saying that any data you want to import has to be under this path, which is where library MySQL files. So we'll try to copy this downloaded file onto this path, okay, which with the help of copy command that is done. And then um, will basically move this data into this path where we can use to import the data into the employee table that we created. So here we can see we are able to move the data onto the specific path. So and table has the employee data now. So now we'll go ahead and create an image out of this virtual machine. So before we go ahead, we have to basically stop the VM to create the capture um, and create the virtual machine. So I'm giving a name here for this image, which is user VM image. Okay, and it is asking for image definition name. So I gave for Ubuntu VM, and the rest remains the same. So here you have an option to basically set the expiry date. Basically, suppose the developer comes and says, "Hey, I need this for this sprint, which will last for 3 weeks or 4 weeks." Um, we will put that end date for now, and later if needed that can be changed. So based on their need, we can set up a time so that it can be cost efficient rather than just giving a date for rest of the year that would just accumulate the cost for the company. So we'll go ahead. Yeah, the image is created. So you can pick a version so that tomorrow, if there's a need, you can slowly increment the version so that each version has some additional features, additional data that has been added to the DBs. That way, we don't have only one version of the image. So once the image, so now you can see the IP address has been assigned to this image. We are trying to connect to this image now. Yeah, once we connected, now you can see there's no additional details that are required the moment you are connected. You can see the database is already existing, and there's also employee table as part of this image. So these are the commands I have used as part of this demo that are I put them at the end of the slide so that I can use them as part of this demo during the hands-on on the Azure portal. Okay, now let's jump into the portal and start executing these steps, and also have an Excel file where I'll try to capture some names that created IP address that was assigned so that it will be easier to navigate. I'll try to have this on the other side. Okay, I can move this on the other side so it will be easier. Okay. Okay, I already have logged into the Azure portal. So let's go ahead and first create a resource group. So let's create one. I'm using there's only one subscription for now. So Azure subscription one that remains as it is. Okay, this is for image. So I will say Ubuntu MySQL resource group. Region, I'm keeping the same. No tags that I'm attaching now. I'll go ahead, click next. Validation is passed, make sure this is there. So we'll create the image, create the resource group. The resource group is basically a logical collection of different resources that you can group them together. So this is now created. I'm gonna say this name on my Excel that I have. Okay. Source group name. Okay. Now we'll go ahead and create a couple of users with the help of Azure Intranet. Metro ID. So, okay, it's still in default directory. So we'll go ahead and add users, create new users. Say someone is Smith. Give me name Smith. Display name will be the same. Password, I don't want to be auto-generated. I'll have it something that I can remember if needed. I can log in. Properties, I'm not adding anything here. In the assignments, you can actually assign a role to this person because we know that he's already a developer. I'm going to say application developer. I gave him a role application developers. We'll go next and create. I'll copy this. Meanwhile, I'll give it a name. I'll have it here. Okay. So I'll go ahead again, create one more user. Here in this A, it will be John. Derived from principal name, that's good. And let's put it John. I'm going to change the manual password. Okay, next properties remain same. He's also a developer, so assign a role to him as an application developer and review and create. Okay, both users we can verify at the bottom if the users are created. Okay. Now we'll go to the subscription ID. To grant them permissions to access some resources. So under subscription, we have something called access control M. So here you can see who has what permissions. So, okay, now let's go ahead and add roles to these two users. First, I'll pick blob reader, which is storage blob data reader. So there's regular blob reader and there's storage blob data reader. So make sure we select the right one. Go next. And here we can pick to who all you want to grant this permission. So you can see this Smith is here. I'm going to select Smith and then I'm going to select John. Okay, and I also add myself to this list because as part of the demo, I will be performing some of those activities on behalf of John and Smith. I'll go ahead and click next. So as of now, there's no condition that I'm attaching to this. So I'll just discard and go ahead and click next and review and review and assign. Okay, looks like I already have, so it showed a failed error message. So what I can do for those two users, they should have. So we'll go ahead, we can actually verify. So you can see Smith John already been assigned to Blob data reader. We will also assign, we'll go back and we'll assign as owners as well. Okay, add role assignment. So this owner would be under privileged admin. We'll select the owner. We'll select the members now. In this case, John and Smith. Because I'm already owner for this, so I don't need to add again. So I'll go ahead, click next. Allow users to assign to all roles. So this is a highly privileged. So I'm gonna say high privilege. Click next and review and assign. 2 role assignments are being added. So let's give it a time. So okay, so that is done. So you can verify again the same here once you go under view access, view access to this user or to resources. So under owner, you can see I'm already there and John and Smith are already part of this. Okay, so once this is done, we'll go back and let's create our storage container. Storage, let's search for storage accounts. Create. So I'm picking the resource that the one we created this morning earlier, which is Ubuntu MySQL RG. Storage account, this is for blob employee. So I would say or you can say this is Excel. I will say Excel CSV. So it's saying only letters or numbers allowed. So I have lowercase. So let me replace with Excel CSV. It should be fine now. I'm keeping this as standard and redundancy. I'm keeping it very minimal. I just want to keep it local to keep the cost minimal for the demo. So I'll go next. Let me take that name before I forget. I'll save it here. Storage account name. Next. I don't think I need this. Versioning, it's okay. It can keep permitted scope for copy. This can remain as it is. Blob storage. So here you have an option basically asking you, do you want this as what kind of tire are you using? Is it a data that you'll be using more often every few minutes here and there? It will be considered as hot. But if it's something you occasionally use, like files in the archiving folders, backup folders, then you can go with cool. So as part of this demo, I'll say cool. I'll be using this one time. Then I'll go next. So for now, I'm setting up as the standard network connection. That means this is available in the network and outside other network also. So I'm not changing anything. So routing is basically you're saying, say Azure has 5 different regions in USA. And when you select Microsoft networking routing, So it basically directs the traffic um, based on the request that is coming from rather than the region. But when you select internet routing, it would basically redirect the traffic based on the closest region that is available to process this request. So I'm keeping this for now as it is. So we'll go at data protection. Um, Nothing changes here. Um, I'm just keeping as it is. Encryption also Microsoft managed key. This is pretty standard. You want to be customized. A user wants to maintain or tailor it. You can go with customer managed key. Okay, I'll go ahead. Tags, nothing. Review plus create. Okay. Now it's validating if all the information that we provided is sufficient. If it's good, so I'll go ahead and create this storage account. So the deployment has started. Um, so you can see what other dependency resources that have been created as part of this storage account. Okay, let's see. So we can see our file name, storage account file name, Excel CSV in this case, and also along with this, it also created a blob service and a file service. We'll be using one of these. We'll go to a resource. So we have different kinds of storages as I spoke earlier. Um, we have containers, we have files and queues. Based on our requirement, we can choose what kind of storage we can create. So in this case, I'm going ahead, I'm selecting a container. So I'll give it a name. So this is employee data. So I'll say employee. I give it a name employee. By default, it is setting to private. So we don't have an option. It's disabled. I'm okay with that. I'll say it's a container. I'll say con. So there's no capital. So I'll say employee con. So I'll save this name. I'll say create. So the container is now created, employee con. So we'll go ahead and now we'll import our test data into this container. I'll say upload. So I already have this mock data currently in my downloads. So I'm going there. We'll try to find mock data.csv. Now upload. It's saying request to access key, change access level. Okay, I think we'll just give it a time. We'll try again. Not sure why it showed successful change access level. Okay, let's try again. Maybe it was too fast. Upload. Is it a file open? No, it's not open. So mock data. Okay, one file selected. Upload. Fail to fail to upload 1 out of 1 blobs. Mock data. This request is not authorized to perform this operation using this permission. Okay, let's check our permission at storage level. Maybe we need to give a permission that should allow us. Let's look at access control. Check my access. Let's see. A month. Okay, I'm owner and also I have access to the storage blob reader, and it's good. I have the permission. Grant access to the resource. Let's say if it's missing anything here. This is something we already done. Let's look at container level. Access control, okay. Check access. User. Okay. Data read. Let's say check access. This is their blob reader. View access to this resource. Owner, I have access. Blob reader, I also have access. Okay. Harry, we can remove. I don't know why there are from the previous roles. Okay, John and Sam, I'm going to remove them. Okay, let's go back to the container. Uh, okay. Failed, blah, blah, okay, mock. It's possible that this previous mock, similar file name has been maybe given the same permission. Let's see if we have to change the name. We'll upload a same file, but we try with a different name if it doesn't work this time again. Refresh. Okay, let's change the name here. Download. Let's see. I'm saying mock data underscore 1. Let's try this. This is blob. Yeah, you can choose the blob type, whether page or append. So it should be okay. So friends, choose existing default container scope. Okay, let's keeping as it is. Override if the file already exists. Okay, upload. This request is not authorized to perform this operation using this permission. I already gave the permission, so let's do this. Let's go to subscription and try to give blob reader access if that's the case. It's something to do with permission. Okay. Grant access to this role, check access. Let's say view my access. Owner, blob reader, I have these both. Okay. Let's say doesn't show here. But if you go under view access to this resource, it would show. Okay. John, Sam. Okay, we John, Harry. We can remove. Sam. Also, they are not required. They're part of the previous demos, so I'm going to remove them. Maybe graph role. This is okay. Look at storage blob data reader. John. We can remove that Harry. Okay, I'll delete them. Okay, I'm gonna remove myself and try adding again. In this case, okay, yes. Add role assignment. Let's say storage. Storage data owner. Let's give this permission. I'll search for myself, which is here. Hari Hemandev. Not sure why it shows my name as cached. Anyways, I'm selecting Harry, which has, I think, Hemandev. Okay, I don't need Harry. Hemandev to gmail.com extension. Okay, let's say select. Okay, review and assign. Next, no condition. Next, review and assign. Guest added. Okay, I'll also set myself again as owner. Go ahead. Owner, select. Next. Allow users to assign all roles, highly privileged. Okay. Next. No description, review and assign. Fail to add as owner. The role assignment already exists. Okay. For this is fine. Let's go back to the container and try if this allows me this time. Container. Anonymous access level. Access level does not allow me to change. Okay, let me. There should be a way that should allow me to upload. Let's try again. Monk data already exist. And upload. Yeah, it was uploaded. So it was something to do with the permission, even though it showed successful, maybe it was not able to do because I did for multiple. So this time I did for individual user and try to permission the same roles, and it worked this time. Anyways, so now we are back with importing data in the container, which is there. So we'll say we got this name saved. Yes, container name. Okay, now we'll go ahead and create a virtual machine on the with the help of Linux servers. So let's go ahead and search for virtual machine. Okay, create. I'm picking the same resource group that we created. Ubuntu MySQL RG will be part of the same virtual group, sorry, resource group. This will be Ubuntu -VM. Availability zone, I'm keeping as no infrastructure needed. And you can see we have, if you recall that Microsoft doc, it says that these are the supported versions or distributions that we allow. So you can see 20 is there, 22 and 24. So we have same range. So we have 22, which has also LTS long-term support. So I'm going to keep as it is. Um, so okay. Size, I'm keeping also the minimum with one CPU and we'll say 8 GB RAM memory, so it will be a little faster. Let's see. Okay. Um, so authentication, it's always safe. You can also do with username password, but for remote servers, it's best practice is to have connect through the key. That way we can avoid the brute force attempts on the virtual machines. So I'm keeping SSH as the encryption or login authentication. Username, I'm going to change this to myself and generate a new pair key. Okay. And it will be an RSA SSH format. Both are almost the same, but one is been for a long time RSA and ED 25519 is something little newer version. So it generated a key pair name for us. I'll keep it as it is. I'll have SSH port and also HTTP open. Okay. I'm giving the name here. So I'm gonna save this VM name, virtual machine name. Okay, next. So coming here, I'm gonna select the minimum space between which 30 GB. It is okay. Disk type, I'm keeping it as standard. Um, okay. This option is something that you should be looking into, that is delete with VM. So you want the disk to be deleted, otherwise you'll be incurring the cost for not deleting if you delete the VM and you forgot to delete the disk. So it's good that it's checked now. Key management, I'm not changing anything here. It remains as it is. We'll go ahead, we'll check some networking settings. Virtual network, it will be part of Ubuntu VM with VNet. That is okay. That means virtual network, if a resources or more than one resource are part of virtual network, they can communicate among each other. But a resource from one virtual network cannot connect to another virtual network. So to overcome that, we have something called network peering. We will look into those in the future demos. It's also subnetting this address, saying that so there are 4 parts to this IP address, and first 3 parts are assigned, and the last 4th part, which is for the range of addresses. So in this case, it's saying that you can actually have around, I think, 256 resources with a unique IP address. So for a demo like this, I think this is more than enough. So I'm keeping it as it is. It will also generate an public IP address for this as well. So I'm just keeping that as it is, nothing changed. Here also you have an option to delete the network interface card and public IP when VM is deleted. So I'm gonna say yes. No load balancing that we'll be looking at now. So basically load balancing is when, say, you have a lot of requests coming and you have multiple CPUs in the on the server that are processing, but you notice that one CPU is highly utilized with 90%, the other CPU is using maybe 20% efficient. In that case, you use load balancing to evenly divide the load among different servers. So we don't have that setup yet, so I'm just keeping done. Nothing is changing in management. I'm keeping it as it is. I'll go ahead, look into monitoring. I'm not changing anything here as well. So here under advanced, I'm also not changing. If you want any queries to be run as part of bootstrap, you can add it here. So I'm not editing anything. This will remain as it is. No tags, and we'll go review and create. Okay, the validation is passed. You can see on the top. So we'll go ahead and create the virtual machine. So this is a one-time option for you to save. So we have chosen SSH. So it is giving us a private key to save. And this is something that we would like to keep. Okay, UM1 to VM. So when we are actually connecting to this virtual machine from this time, I think we can use PuTTY. We'll connect through this private key, and it once the authentication happens, we will be able to establish this connection. So the way this key works is we will send a private key trying to make a connection on the virtual machine, and virtual machine has a public key. So it basically encrypts some portion of data and gives to this private key saying that, hey, can you decrypt this? And if you're successfully able to decrypt, that's how the connection is authenticated. So this private key, we have to save this for the first time. Okay, now you can see the deployment is complete. So we can also verify the dependencies, resources that are created as part of this VM creation. To the IP address that will be assigned, network interface, network security group, which is also like a firewall that will protect our VM from exposing to outside the internet, and also IP address. Yeah. Okay, now we'll look at this. We'll go to resources. We'll capture the IP address of this VM. We'll save it in our Excel file. This is for virtual machine. Okay. Username I have given Hemant for now. I'll just keep this here. Password, I don't think I want to type now. Go back. Okay. So you can see the instance is up. Agent status is ready. Okay. There's also a private IP address assigned. So this will be helpful when the resources of the same virtual network wants to communicate. In that case, you don't need the public IP address. Okay, you can see all the configuration that are we requested or available. Azure Spot is basically it's if you know that uh, your VM is not very important. Whatever you're doing is occasionally used, and you're using to run some bad jobs on the lower environment. To keep your cost minimal, you can choose Spot option. That will significantly reduce your cost of utilizing this resource. So we'll go ahead, we'll try to connect to this. Okay, the port 22, I'm gonna select the SSH here. We're using CLI. We'll run some validations here. 172.59. We can verify that. Okay. Okay, we'll say I agree to this. Now, so even though the virtual machine is ready, you'll basically this will set up um, and keep the environment ready for us to connect through the Azure command line interface. So it's verifying if the port is open. Okay, that is checked. Then it is also checking for any um, identity and access management setup, which users are allowed, what permissions they have. So all those validations are now taking place. Okay, I think it was able to validate all those configurations. Now CLI would generate a command with asking Azure to basically connect to this virtual machine. Your Cloud Shell session will be empirical and so on of files. So ideally, it should also trigger that command, which would allow us to connect to the VM. So currently, it didn't do this time and the shell. So let me close and try again connecting and see if it generates that command. Yes. So you can see now it's making an attempt to connect to the virtual machine with all the details. Yes. So here we already have command line interface from Azure portal. We are able to connect to the VM. But for us to install the SQL database, um, we will now first actually connect to this VM from PuTTY, and then we will install the command line interface on the VM. So let's open our PuTTY. Okay, let's take this IP address. The port remains same 22. This is SSH. Okay, and under SSH you have something called authentication. Here you want to give your private key. So if we go and look what key that Azure portal generated, it's actually a .pem key. So this has to be converted to PPK, which is the private key. So for that, before we import the key, let's convert that with the help of PuTTY key generator. Okay, now let's load that file that we downloaded. Why is it? So it's only showing private key files. So I will say all and pick up the one that public private key was generated. Okay. So it's saying to use this key, you need to use the say private key. Okay. Now it is we imported the key and we need to save as a PPK so that the party can establish the connection. So and the type also is RSA, so I'm not changing. We'll give a passphrase which will make us easy to connect. So now we will save the private key and I will give a name. Ubuntu VM key. So I'll keep this as ppk and save. Okay. So that private key is now ready to import onto this putty. So I'll browse from here. Ubuntu private key. Okay. Now let's verify the IP address is still there. Okay, now let's connect. Login as Hemant. So it's asking the passphrase that we provided. So I'm giving that. So yeah, now through SSH, we are successfully able to connect to the Linux virtual machine now. So this is where we will try to install our command line interface for Azure. So let's grab those commands. Okay, where is this? Okay, it's open on the other window. Okay, so I'm basically just to show, come on. So I'll be basically executing these command prompts to install CLI, then create the DB, then import the blob onto the virtual machine, and just having it on the other side so that we can get this more efficiently. Okay, so first we can check if Azure is there. There's no Azure command. That means there's no command line. So I will go ahead, we'll update some uh, existing libraries. Okay, there are few packages that can be upgraded. Let's follow this Microsoft provided document. So before you begin, the requirements are already met. I'm not going over this. We already selected Jammy Jellyfish for this installation. So I'll go ahead with start with the step-by-step installation. So I'll copy this command. So this command is basically um, asking to get all the packages that are required to install Azure command line. Is asking for a permission for the space it will be needed. I'm saying yes. So you can see it has also verified some other dependencies. For example, this is our guest OS, the one you want to install. So this was installed on a physical virtual machine, which physical server, and on top that server has a different OS. I don't know. It can be, mostly it should be Linux, and that OS is called as the host OS. And top of that, we have something called hypervisor, which helps us interact with the guest OS and the host OS. So it also verified that there's no outdated packages for hypervisor as well, which is good. So now we'll go ahead and install these keys that are required as part of this CLI. I'll go ahead and install that. Okay. Now we are adding the zip repository for the CLI as well. Okay. Now we'll go ahead and update and install the command line interface for Azure. Now you can see all those dependency packages, Debian files will be extracted. It will tell how much memory I'm using for these files, the libraries. So you can see it is looking at Azure version 2.64. That's the version of Azure CLI will be installed on this VM. Okay. So I think this step is complete. Now we can verify if Azure CLI is installed. Yeah, we can see that it's 2.64 is installed now. That means we can use the CLI commands to perform additional tasks to connect to the resources like the blob and download the file. Okay, so now let's go ahead and download that file onto our local virtual machine. So to do that, let's grab that command, which is so we might have to tweak a bit this command. Let's see. Okay, here is the command. So we have to provide the proper names. Let's go to this Azure Storage download container name. So let's pick it up from our Excel file. What is the container name here? Where is the Excel file? Testing, it doesn't show it here. Oh, it's here. Okay. Our container name is employee con. So I'm going to replace this here. Okay. Why did it move? Let's type it here. I think it's changing, adding some space. So now let's try. Now it's asking for the name of the file, mock data underscore CSV. Let's see if that's the name. I think we didn't capture that. We changed that name. So let's go look it up. The name again. Yeah, mock data underscore one. Yeah. So let's go back to the notepad, copy this here and replace the name. So file and the name, I think they both has to be replaced in this case. Okay, now account name. So which account name is referring to the storage account, which is Excel CSV. Copy this, paste it here. It copied an extra line. So I'll use this employees DB will replace. Yeah. Now let's execute this command. We'll go back to our VM and say let's please an Azure login to set up account. Okay, so before that, I think we should set up Azure login. So let's look into that. Let's try that. AZ login. Okay, it's saying go to this website and authenticate yourself through device login. So I'm going to copy this. Go open one of the browser here, device login. Okay. Now it's asking you, please enter this code to authenticate. So I'll copy this. Click on next. Let's see what happens here. Okay, it's asking me to log in. Yes, are you trying to sign in Mazur CLI? Yes, you're signed in. Let's see. Okay, that part is done. So now it has basically linked my ID to the Azure subscription. That means that authentication was required basically to pull that blob onto this VM. So let's go ahead and try again and see if it actually can read the blob file. Yes, you can see it gave us a JSON command with the details that it was 100% successfully able to install that file. So let's see what is there here. So we can see the file name mock data 1 CSV has been imported into the virtual machine now. So before we load into the DB, let's install our MySQL now. For that, let's run this command. We already ran update, so let's say sudo install. So apt is our advanced package tool to install any packages, uninstall packages. Um, it's asking to that we will need 250 MB of memory to complete this installation. So I'm giving the permissions for that. So you can see all the libraries, packages are being unpacked, the Debian files, some tests as part of this DB. You will also have a test database, some configuration that will be set up as well. So we won't try to change anything there, but we will create a new database for this demo and create a new table as well. And we will import this mock data CSV into that file. And then we can go ahead and try generating an image out of that. Okay, it's almost 99%. I think no VMs card. Okay, the DB is now installed. So now let's verify. Let's start the Microsoft MySQL server with the help of sudo system ctl start MySQL, and let's see if the status of the DB as well. Yeah, so it's verified that it's up and running. This is something we can check here with this command status. Okay, now the DB is up and running. Let's see what it all has. Let's see what databases it has. Show DB show, not found, sudo show, no. Let's first change the prompt. So we are still at working at the VM prompt. So we have to now go into the DB to basically look into the details. To do that, we have to use command sudo, which is a privilege command for us to connect to this DB instance. Welcome to MySQL. Okay, you can see the prompt is now on MySQL. Now we can go ahead and see what all databases we got as part of this installation. Okay, we can see information schema DB, performance schema DB, sysdb. Some are related to sys, all related to configuration. So we won't play with any of those DBs. Rather, we'll now create a new database. Let's say create database MySQL 2024. So it created one row affected. Now we have to create a table. You have to go into this database. We do that by giving a command, use database MySQL database change. Okay, let's now create this database is empty, obviously. So let's go ahead and create a table. So I'm gonna use this query, which I matches actually with the mockdb parameters. So I'll go ahead and create this. So I gave a table name employee with 3 parameters: employee number, name, and city. So the table is now created. So next thing is you will see that there's no data in this table. Uh, it's an empty set. So now this is where you want to, now the table is ready to import um, the data into the table. So we use um, this command. Okay, so before doing that, one restriction that the MySQL DB has is it only allows us to import in a specific path. So let's find out what path it is allowing us to import the data. So we do that by using this command to basically see the variable secure file variable. So the command is show variables like secure file frame. Okay, this is the path. It's saying that any file, any data you want to push into the DB, please store this in this path, and this is from where I will grant you access to import the files. So we'll have this copied. I'll go here, we'll save this path if you need it. Where is the Excel? All of a sudden, yeah, it's here. Okay, DB, I'll say, let's give, I'll say path here, okay. Now let's go to this path and copy our file, which is, let's exit this prompt first. Okay, so now we're back in the VM. So you can see where we are. Our current directory is home Heyman. This is where the file is. So from this path, home root / home / Heyman, we want to move this mock data one CSV file into this path. Okay, so let's do that now. So move, we'll say sudo mv. The file name is, let's copy that file name if it's there. Okay, I have to do it from the notepad. And this is the file name. Go back to the prompt. Sudo move file, because we're already in that current path, so we don't have to give that path, but we have to give the path of where we want to move this file. So that should be in the double quotes. Oops. This one. Okay, with the double quotes. Let's see. Okay, I think the file we should be able to see the file is already there. There's no errors here. Now let's go back to our SQL prompt with the help of sudo MySQL and import this file into our new table, employee table. To do that, we'll use this command, load data file. So let me copy this. We have to tweak this command a bit to the new file name. So let's copy it here. We replace with mock data one into a table employee. Table name didn't change. I think the rest should be fine. We don't need the prompt. Prompt is already there. Oh, we'll copy this command. We'll go back and try to import the table data. Okay, no database selected. Okay, so let's say use my SQL 2024. Now let's run. Can't get the stat of CSV error, no such file. So I think the copy didn't work properly. Let's go back. We have to update. Uh, let's do here sudo move mock CSV instead of space. Cannot stat mock db, no such file or directory exists. Okay, let's see. Oh, it already moved, so the file is already there. Then why it's not able, can't get stat of variable MySQL files. Error 2, no such file or directory exists. Why it does not exist when it already moved? You can see earlier under this path the file was saved. It moved the file. Did I give any wrong name? mock underscore data underscore one.csv. Yeah, that's the file. Cannot get stat. Load data file. Maybe it should be sudo load. Let's try that. Let's go to MySQL. Sudo MySQL. Okay. Let's say sudo it won't be sudo, but we have an error in your SQL. Yeah, it won't be sudo because it's only on the VM that we need. Load data in file. No database selected. Okay, let's change again. Use MySQL 2024. Now let's run. Can't get stat of or no such file or directory. Let's see, did it already import? MySQL 2024 not employed, does not exist. Why wouldn't it exist? I had the table. Okay, it's case sensitive, I believe. So I'll say E in caps. Yeah, so the data not imported, but the file got moved. So let's see what is this error about. Can't get the stats. Let's go to Google. Let's try here. DB installation. Incorrect file path. Double check the file path to ensure it is spelled correctly and it's that the directory exists. If you're using relative paths, make sure working directory is set correctly. Verify that the file actually exists. If it does not, create the file or copy to the correct location. Okay, let's instead of moving, let's copy that file and we will try why it wasn't able to load this file. Or let me check the screenshot from our previous exercise. So let me go back. Validation is created. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, so we did copy instead of move. Actually, it was when we moved, we used sudo command to move with the use the help of high privileges. So in this case, earlier we didn't use sudo command. That's the reason my without privilege it was not able to read. So let's do this. Let's go back to our VM. We'll import the file there. Control Z. Where is it? Import command from. Okay, we'll try to import the file onto the VM again. And instead of moving, let's copy this time. I'll drop download, container name, file name remains the same. Enter. Okay. If you see ls, the file is there. Okay. Instead of just moving, we use sudo command to copy. Copy. Let's go back, take the file name, mock data csv. This is the file. Okay, and then we give the path, and we give the path in double quotes. Let's find that path. Where lib library MySQL file, the slash, we'll give a space, we'll double quotes and double quotes. So let's do this. Sudo copy mock file into this. Copy command not found. Interesting. Why didn't it work? We can try mv then with double quotes. Let's see with sudo does mv. Maybe it has to be small. Okay. It did move with sudo command now. Let's go connect to the SQL. Sudo SQL. Okay. Choose MySQL 2024. It doesn't say previous command, so let's try again. Now importing the file from this path. Worst case, if it throws error, we can rename the file and import another one, and we'll try with sudo move. Okay, so it did work this time. It was with the high privilege command. Anyways, now we'll see if the data has fully imported into our employee table. We can see the data now. So all 100 records have been inserted into the employee table. This is good. So I think from here, we will basically create an virtual machine out of this, and we will connect to that virtual machine once that is created to see if it has existing configuration and data that the image is supposed to have. So that way we can validate again. So from here, I'm going to exit out of this. Let's close this connection. We can keep it, and we'll see once we stop the virtual machine, this connection will automatically get disconnected. So let's connect to our portal. Okay, close. I don't need this. Our VM is this one. Let's go Ubuntu VM and stop. Go to resources. This is a virtual machine, so I'm gonna stop. So now we can see our connection will be disconnected. The one we have through secure shell will be disconnected. So it's saying it will take a couple of minutes. So I would, even if it says we can see there's some connection issue. You can see that our SSH connection has been terminated because we now stopped our virtual machine. So that is okay, that is expected. So I'm going to close this. So even though the virtual machine, when it prompts for that it is stopped, will give a minute so that there's no issues when we actually create the virtual machine image. And meanwhile, we can go ahead and actually create Azure Compute Gallery. That way, we are giving enough time for this. So you can see on the top, the notification still running. So let it do that work, and we'll go to the Azure Gallery, Compute Gallery. Okay. So let's create one gallery for this. I'm going to pick the same resource group, which is Ubuntu MySQL RG. Name, I will say this is out of our Ubuntu virtual machine. So I'll say Ubuntu and MySQL. It's saying no underscores and must contain in letters, numbers, and underscore. So instead of hyphen, let's say I will give underscore Ubuntu MySQL underscore. I say gallery. I'll save this name for future in our Excel. Okay, this is image name. Okay, it's there already. Okay, we'll go back. Sharing role-based access, I'll keep it as it is. Tags, I'm not adding anything. I'll go ahead and create this Azure gallery. Okay, deployment has started. So if you can recall earlier when we have created a image gallery for in a Windows server environment, we basically had to first thing we basically had to stop the VM, then generalize. It's also that any dependencies like IP addresses, any specific config files related to that dependency has to be removed. So in this case, that will be taken care. All we have to do is we capture the VM once it is stopped. So it says deployment is done. Let's see, go to the resources. What did it create? Okay, it created this gallery for us, Ubuntu SQL gallery. So now let's go back to our virtual machine and see if it actually stopped. Yeah, so you can see the status is stopped, it delocated. This is what we want. We'll go ahead now and capture the image out of this. Okay. Ubuntu RG, yes, share it gallery as in VM image version. Yes, automatically delete this virtual machine after creating the image. For now, I'm not selecting this. I'll keep as it is. Target Azure Compute Gallery. So we just created this gallery. I'm going to select this already existing gallery that I created. That will, so this image would be part of this gallery. So now you're saying I was talking about generalizing the virtual machine. So here you're an option to generalize, which is by default selected. Rest version, I'm going to give version, say 0.0.1. And as the time passes, if there are more needs coming from the developers to basically add additional DBs, additional web servers, then we can come up with later versions of these images. So for now, I'm just keeping it. I'm going to give a expiry date until Sunday. Log deleting replicator locations. Um, this is basically a safety feature where if by accidentally you have this VM replicated and you don't have the track of where all these VM images have been placed, it will help you to accidentally delete them, avoid deleting them. So I'll just keep it as it is. Redundancy, I'm not changing anything here, and no tags. Review and create. Some information is missing, so let's go back. Required information missing or invalid. And the basics, let's go here. What was missing? No, okay, this has to be selected. I did select. No, target VM image definition. Okay, I have to give the name here. Okay, so for this, I will give a name, say, what the purpose is to have this data verified. So I'll say employee VM image. I'll say VM img 01. Okay, create new. Oh, it has to, I can't type there. Okay, I'll say employee image 01. Okay, so it is out of Linux by default. You don't have option to edit because we already chose or to create this image from a Linux. So these are already grayed out options. So we don't have option to even change. SKU offer, they all remain the same. So I'll say okay. Now let's try creating this image. Validation passed. So Ubuntu employee. So I'll copy this image definition. Sorry. Copy this into the Excel file. Image definition name. Okay, we'll go back. We'll say create. successfully generalized and deployment is in progress. So basically now it's basically generalizing. It would untag those IP addresses that were part of it, any specific dependencies that will be removed as well. So you can see is it in progress. You can see um, the other dependency resources are also being created as part of this deployment process. One is image version we already gave as 0.0.0 0.0.1, and there's also image definition. It usually takes it took a good amount of time in my previous trials. I took almost um, 3 to 5 minutes. So we'll give it a time depending on the configuration that we selected. So for the disk that I've selected was a 1 CPU with I think it's 4 GB RAM and 30 GB disk. So based on the resources, the time is directly proportional. The more simple and standard configuration select, the more longer it would take. So today it almost the deployment is ready, which is great. So we can see version and definition both are there. So now let's go to this image and create a virtual machine out of this image. Okay, so I want to go from here. Let's see actually what all our resources group now contains. So human to MySQL. You can see we have so all this image version definition, the storage account, a virtual machine, the IP address, network security group, virtual network interface, the disk, keys, and compute gallery. They're all part of the same virtual um, resource group. So these are all, even though physically separated, but this group allows us to logically group them for easy understanding and how they are dependent. So I'll go ahead, I'll see, go into the gallery. Um, employee image one is the image that we created, and let's find the version. So you can see this is a image that we have. So from this image, we'll create a new virtual machine out of this to see how what data it currently possesses. So I'll go ahead, create VM. It will be part of the same resource group. Um, so virtual machine name. So I will say this is employee image hyphen VM. Okay, this is a name I gave. Region I'm keeping the same. Availability zone I'll keep it no infrastructure. One thing you have to make sure here is you basically have to select the image that we just created. It can't be the previous any of those, because that will basically give you a new VM without any previous template and data. So make sure you have this selected, the recently created image. In this case, it pre-populated for us, which is good. And size, I'm going to reduce this. 2 CPUs, if I can find 1 CPU. Okay, I'll give this one. I'll again use an SSH as well for this connection. I'll change the name, say, just in case we'll give, say, we have given new user who is John. Let's try to say John wants to connect to this new image, and we'll generate a new key pair for him. Okay, and RSA again remains same. RSA is the key type, and we'll also allow HTTP connection port on this. Licensing type, I don't think it's required for now. I'm gonna save this new virtual machine name again. Let's say it's here. Uh, New VM image for job. Yep. We'll go ahead and create. So I was talking about the spot. Let's see if we can um, use that option for spot. See, run with spot Azure spot discount. So if you see now, the price for this VM would be like $89. But if you say I want it to be a spot one, you can see drastically reduce your estimated cost to 28. So let's try this. So basically, when you say spot, you don't want it to be highly available, and there's chances that if Azure, wherever this VM is created, they have to either move away or clean up, they would give you a very minimal intimation before they destroy this VM. So for this demo, I'm going to say spot, and I'll go ahead, click say next. Networking, I'll keep it as standard. SSD, OS desktop image default, which will be 32 GB in this case. Okay, and delete with VM. So you want to delete this disk once the VM is deleted. Yes, I'll select that. Go to networking options. Okay, it will generate a new IP. That's okay, and delete the IP and network interface card once the VM is deleted. I'm going to check that. I'm going to go ahead. Management, I'm not changing anything here. Enable auto shutdown is a best practice. Say this is on lower environment, you don't want it to be running all night. So you can say I want this to run until say 11 p.m. and after that it should shut down as per my time zone, which is here. I have Canada, Atlantic time zone, Eastern. So I'm going to say it's Eastern. I'll say next, monitoring. Nothing changed here. I'm not changing anything here. I'll directly go to the review and create. I'll let it validate. The validation passed. So I'm going to go ahead and create this new virtual machine, which from the image. So I'm going to download because I will connect through SSH as well if required. So I will save it on local. So image VM keep I'll save. We'll give it some time. So the timeline started. So as part of this deployment, you won't see the disk being created now, but once you connect, you will see that resource as well. For now, you should only see this 4 because we're already using existing VNet. So it should not create a new VNet for this image as I've choose the existing one. Okay, the deployment is complete. Let's verify. Schedule, interface. Yeah, it didn't create a new VNet, but it did create a new resource that I'm looking at, which is schedules. So this is because we have given a time to shut down this VM at 11 p.m. So it created some resource that for itself that would take care of shutting it down. I'm not worried about that. So let's go to this resource and capture the IP address for this new VM, which is 4088. I'll go to the Excel, capture this IP address. Go back and capture the name, also operating system. Um, employee image VM is the computer name or virtual machine name. Oh, it's already there. Okay, so I can just put this here aligned. Okay, so now let's connect to this virtual machine and connect. We use CLI. So before we connect through SSH, we can actually we have to run this prerequisite for the VM to be ready to have the proper ports opened, initial configuration to complete. Meanwhile, let's open a putty. We'll give that IP address, our Excel file. Okay, so we'll go to SSH and we'll convert the existing PEM key to PPK private key, public private key. Say with that we need putty generator. Open. We'll load that file from all EMP image. So it's imported. Now save as a private key. We'll give some passkey to make it easy. Say private key as RSA. Say we'll select this name, PPK. Oh, I don't need to give PPK. I'll leave this as it is. Okay, we'll save this. Okay, let's see what's happening on the portal. So there's some issue with assigning those identity and access management. So all we could do is just give it a time and we can try again. And that's all have seen how to troubleshoot. Sometimes it's not ready to execute all those prerequisites. Yeah, so see now it's there. Maybe it can be even the status message is not updated properly. Let's try now. Okay, you can see the connection is being established and it should, Azure portal should generate the prompt to basically connect to the virtual machine now. It's taking some time. It's okay. I say yes. Okay, so now we are on the virtual machine. Let's go to Sura MySQL. You can see the prompt change. That means two things. One, we already have the DP, and now we are verifying if there's a table called employee. So before that, I think we need to select the DB as well. We'll use MySQL 2024 database change. Select star from employee. Yeah, so you can see all 100 records are also available in this new VM that is created as part of the virtual machine. So now we also verify the connection from SSH. We gave some authentication. Let's select this private key, EMP, PPK. Select this private key. We'll open the connection. accept, we say John. Yeah, so you can also verify the same, not just from Azure command line, but also from SSH into this VM. Okay, use MySQL 2024 database change, select star from employee. So this is now John has access to the new virtual machine, which is created from a VM of his friend or a colleague or developer. And that ends the demo for today.
So this is the second user access from the image VM, right?
Correct. This is from John.
Okay, okay, good, good, good. So it is a very, very long demo we have taken today.
Yeah, I think
Uh,
it went a little over time.
mm, okay, but what I would suggest is this kind
Uh,
of complex demos when you are giving at the end, you cover a test scenario. Let us
mm,
say if some test analysts need to test this, what are the steps? How
mm,
they can do that? That kind
mm,
of clues you need to give because you have
mm,
a great QA testing background.
mm,
With that, you'll be able to identify the scenario and steps.
mm. Okay,
Okay, that gives
sure.
clarity. Yes, your QA background also it
Mm,
can be utilized in the
mm.
future roles.
Right.
Right?
So
That's how it is.
anything specific that you want me to cover future, uh,
That,
like
that is the I want to
okay.
tell here because there are companies they look for testing experience along with cloud exposure also.
Mm.
Okay, let me stop the recording.